In addition to environmental benefits, getting around San Diego without your car can improve personal and public health, even when riding a bus, trolley, or train. KPBS North County Bureau Chief Allison St. John joins us with the details on the Transit Summit that explains some of this. Welcome, Allison.
Glad to be here, Peggy.
Now, despite improvements, 75% of San Diegans still take a car to work alone in that car. Aside from lowering carbon emissions, how can using alternative transportation actually improve health?
I think this was what was interesting about this North County Business Transportation Summit was they were pointing out that there are several reasons why driving a car is really not very good for public health. For a start, one of the biggest problems for the public health these days is obesity. And so if you're in public transit or walking or biking, you're much less likely to be obese than if you're in a car. Secondly, car crashes, it turns out, is one of the leading causes of death for teenagers and people even into their 20s and 30s. You know, the healthiest segment of our population, that is a leading cause of death for them is car crashes. And thirdly, asthma. You know, the air quality around a freeway. If you live close to a freeway within a couple of miles, chances of your kids having asthma increases dramatically.
Well, I understand there were policymakers and business leaders at this first Transit Summit. What did the local business leaders say about what they're doing to try to improve this situation here?
I think a lot of the smaller businesses were there to sort of get ideas and learn, but one of the largest employers in North County is Palomar Health. They've just built this enormous new hospital in Escondido. And what was interesting was they said that they had discovered that one way to avoid building a parking lot, and parking lots cost millions of dollars to build, was to subsidize a bus route. So it is actually the public transit system that has a bus route that is designed to serve the hospital, and it runs from downtown and goes right past the hospital's administrative buildings. So the hospital contributed $90,000 and said that was a good investment for them as a private company because it saved them from building parking lots for all the...
Which was going to be millions.
Right, yeah.
I see. How does North County compare to the city of San Diego when it comes to encouraging public transportation?
I think this summit was an attempt to really sort of dynamize the discussion in North County because, of course, it's been a big discussion in the city and the county and the San Diego Association of Governments for years. But North County really needs the policymakers and the local leaders really need to get on board, as it were, and up to speed with this idea that walking, bike lanes, public transit is really important.
I know one big issue facing North County is a plan to widen Interstate 5 north. Where does that plan stand right now?
Well, Caltrans has just issued its final environmental impact report. The plan is to widen it by 4 lanes, and it will include some widening of the rail line as well and bike paths all the way down Interstate 5. However, just last week, the Cleveland National Forest Foundation has sued Caltrans, saying that they did not include the effects on public health of this plan. And they claim that there is much too much money being invested in the freeway and not enough in alternatives.
So putting the money into the expansion of a freeway versus putting the money into rail improvements. But Sandag had an answer for that, right?
Well, Sandag believes that they have balanced it. They've actually heard the complaints and that they are developing the double tracking the train line so that more trains can go up and down that corridor, and that they're bringing that development forward in time so that it's parallel with the developments on the freeway. But the opponents say those changes are not enough. We are still prioritizing the freeway, that we could in fact have mass transit, fast-track buses without expanding the freeway by 4 extra lanes, but just by allocating lanes for the buses. So they argue that really still, as a region, we are still spending more of our dollars, billions of dollars, in future transportation developments on the car, basically.
Was there any talk of how things had changed and improved over time? I know in San Diego, the trolleys seem packed every time you look at them. The parking lots for the trolleys are packed. Was there any discussion on that in North County as far as, well, it's gotten much better, sort of a little pat on the back?
I think this was an initial summit, and in fact the talk was perhaps to have some more summits in the future. And you know, one of the questions is, if you build developments for bike paths, for example, will they come? You know, will people get out of their cars and start riding bikes? And there was an interesting piece of news this week out of San Francisco, just yesterday. It came out of a report that they have increased the bike ridership in San Francisco by 96% since 2006 because of all the improvements they've made to bike tracks up there. So it does suggest that investing in making it easier for people to walk, bike, and take public transit will eventually have results.
All right, well, there's certainly much more from your report on the website at KPBS North County Bureau Chief Allison St. John. Thank you.
Thanks, Peggy.